Warning: the following video presentation contains scenes of extreme deliciousness. Failure to either eat first or bring a snack to consume during the presentation could result in wanting to lick the screen or in some way act the fool. Ain't nobody want that. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Hey everybody. Right as the intro was about to finish, the screen over here decided to freeze up on me. And so I'm quickly having to like restart and do stuff, and it's just like, oh hey, streamer problems, but that's alright. How's everyone doing today? Happy Cinco de Mayo, for those that are celebrating. It's been an okay day today. Been doing a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff. My brain's kind of oozing out of my ears because trying to teach myself DaVinci Resolve. Hey Avocado Cream KitchenAid, how's it going? It's a video editing program, so I'm trying to learn how to use it, and watching some tutorials, and it's it's kind of melting and coming out of my ears. So let's see, streamer bot doesn't seem to because it should have thrown out welcome message, and it did not for some reason. So hopefully, hey Soldier Giants, how's it going, man? I am doing all right. So I needed to make dog food. And it's been a hot minute since I had streamed making dog food and kind of talked about that. So I figured I'd go ahead and do that today. And then afterwards, well, Mrs Hueso and myself are going to need to eat. And so I figured, you know what, I'll do something that's pretty easy that we enjoy. And so I'll make some English Muffin Pizzas. Literally just mini pizzas on top of English muffins. It's pretty simple. Everything doesn't need to come out of a 3-star Michelin star restaurant or something like that. We like them. It's easy. It's comfort food. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, the basic idea when it comes to the dog food that we make for our dogs is we read a book by Dr. Karen Becker, and she is a big proponent of a raw diet for dogs. It was something, oh, right on the Soldier of Giants, yeah, so we got turned on to that by the trainer that worked with our big guy Jane, because he had some issues, and she highly recommended the diet, and so we started kind of down that path. But the mix that was being recommended was really expensive, and we figured, you know what, why not just make it ourselves? And so that was something that I took the challenge of and read the book to kind of figure out how to make it work. And I've been doing it now. It's been about 7 years that I've been making their food. So every couple of weeks or whatever, I'll make a batch, have it, you know, one in the fridge, others in the freezer, and thaw them as needed. So then that way it stays fresh. So we actually ran out of the last batch, or pretty close to it. This would have been, I think, Tuesday. And so what I'll usually do is I'll get just like a small pack of ground beef or something like that and mix it into what little bit is left to just hold them over for a day or something. Because I don't necessarily keep all of the supplies needed for it on hand. I'll go to the market and kind of pick it up as I need. So for today's batch, it's gonna be a beef-based one. Previously, I would use these turkey chubs on alternate times, but the market stopped selling them. So I went and picked up a 40-pound box of what was supposed to be boneless, skinless chicken thighs. That seemed to be kind of the cheapest option. And I made the last batch of dog food was made with that. And then I have the extras vacuum sealed and frozen. So then that way I can thaw them as needed and then throw in things like chicken hearts, gizzards, and livers. But today is all about the beef. And so I've got a couple of 5-pound chubs of ground beef. I got some beef heart. I got beef liver. I'm going to be cutting up the heart. So if that's something that's a little bit, you know, gruesome and graphic for you, hey, Arcona, no problem. Lurk, do what you got to do, man. It's all good. I'm just making dog food right now. So if you have any questions about that, we can talk about that. Because like I said, I've been doing this for about 7 years now. In addition to the meat components, all that animal protein, we're throwing in carrots, peas, red cabbage, and I got a can of pumpkin. Pumpkin's one of those things that dogs just seem to do better when that's actually cooked, but it provides a lot of fiber and it's really good for them. So I got a can of that we'll throw in. But in addition to all that, there's Team Omega. Things like mackerel, clams, sardines that we'll process and I kind of add to them. In the book, Dr. Karen Becker recommends, or in her kind of ideal situation, that during any given week, you're switching up the kind of the protein types and the recipes throughout the week. So then that way the dogs aren't eating the exact same thing the entire time. And during that time, she'll say, add an egg, or like add some sardines or something like that. And just to kind of mix it up and add like a little treat and to keep it going. What I just kind of in my experience, I kind of got over doing that. And so I just add it all to the batch at once. And so then that way they get all of that stuff and a little bit at a time, and it all works out. So I throw in eggs, I throw in all the Team Omega stuff. And then there's a vitamin mixture that she recommends and like how much to add on a kind of a per pound basis to the batches of dog food. And it's not a short list. I mean, it's got things like taurine and iodine. There's salt in there. Iron, manganese. I forget what all's in there. It's in the book, and it's one of those things that I periodically make a big batch of it. So last time I made it, there we go. This quart jar was full, and I just kind of figured out, based on the math, how much of this that I needed to add to each batch, and I'll write it on the lid. So like on here it says 15 grams per batch, but since I'm making a double batch, I'll add 30 grams of it. to the mix, so then that way they get all the kind of additional vitamins and everything that they need. Thankfully, it's not something that I have to make too often, or we have to buy the vitamins too often. Oven's ready. But then that way we at least have it for a pretty lengthy period of time. Just so then that way we can make sure that the doggos are, you know, well fed, got good nutrition. And it's one of those things that when we first started doing it, we weren't sure, like, okay, well, will we actually notice a difference? And we absolutely noticed a difference with them. My mother-in-law's dog, when she was still with us and her dog was still with us, initially he wasn't a big eater, and he just kind of seemed sluggish and down, and he was a little dog, and he wasn't that much older than Jane, and so it seemed like he really should have had a whole lot more energy, but he just, for whatever reason, didn't have a ton of energy, wasn't big on eating. Once we switched him over to that raw diet, he perked up and was like a puppy. He had a ton of energy, was all over the place, and I mean, we've seen the benefits with our other dogs too, so it's one of those things that we won't go back to, you know, just kind of straight up kibble or whatever. It's not to say that, hey, you know, if you're feeding your dogs kibble that you're, you know, a bad person or anything like that. No, I'm not saying that at all. This was a decision that we made for our dogs, and this is what we choose to do. How, you know, you choose to care and feed your dogs is completely up to you, provided that you're not, you know, obviously abusing. Yeah, so then we're gonna have words. So, stream is right up your alley. Canned pumpkin is great for dogs who are having stomach issues. Cool that you're adding it right in. Yeah, exactly. It's. I don't add it to every batch that I make, but I do. It's definitely in the mix relatively frequently. So then that way, they're getting the fiber, they're getting the vitamins, and, you know, I try to mix up the colors also, since the colors of vegetables, you know, are different vitamins and things like that. So that's why I got like red cabbage, and, you know, because I have green peas, and got the carrots and the pumpkin, which are, you know, on the orange and everything, but this way there's a little bit of all that in there. For the fruit, I got bananas and red to Anjou pears, and so we'll cut those up and throw them in. But the first things that I usually do is I work with the meat and kind of get that stuff all processed up. I do everything in my food processor here. We have a large meat grinder that we bought specifically for the purposes of making dog food, and I use that for a really long time, but it's a big heavy thing, and I just kind of was like, hey, let's, you know, on a whim I decided to change it up one time just to kind of see how I liked it, and I've never looked back from using the food processor because it's way easier to use and clean, and it may take a little bit longer, but I to be honest, at this point, I think this is actually quicker than using the food grinder, because I would normally end up having to run everything through and then like run it through a second time, and it was just, yeah, it was really kind of a pain. So this is my go-to method. In this container is the rest of the kind of the ground beef and everything that I had purchased for him, as well as a little bit of the last batch of dog food. I just add it. In the event that something like this happens, I just add it to the next batch. So then that way they got a little bit of extra kind of mixed in, and nothing goes to waste. Because there wasn't enough initially for a single meal between the two of them. So. And then all this just gets mixed up at the very end, and I'm usually end up using this paddle to kind of stir it up. You can only see the corner of the bowl right now. Give me a second, let me take this thing. Hi, puppy. But I've got a large mixing bowl, which is really hard to see. This is a very large mixing bowl, but this contains the entire double batch, and there's enough room that I'm able to mix it up without too much worry. So that's kind of what I use. And so that's underneath this camera, but you'll still be able to kind of see everything else that I'm doing. First things first, we're gonna add the chubs of ground beef to the bowl. I try to get these in first thing, just because that way it's got a little bit of a chance to warm up slightly, just making it way easier to mix. Because if it's cold, it likes to stay all clumped up instead of being completely mixed up, which is really what I want. I'll just break it up a little bit, just so then that way my life is a little bit easier down the line. Okay. So we got that in. So I got a couple of packs of beef heart here. My local supermarket actually sells it on a regular basis, and so I'm able to kind of pick it up fresh, which is nice. And if needs be, I can actually order it by the case, which is really cool, because then I get it on a cheaper per pound price because they don't have to do anything to it. So before this goes in the food processor, I usually just kind of roughly dice it up a little bit just to make it easier for the food processor. Like I said before, if watching me cut up organ meat is something that kind of turns your stomach, then you might want to look away for a little bit, because at least honestly right now the only thing I'm cutting up is going to be the beef heart. I've got beef liver, which is sold in pre-sliced, like 1 pound packages, and so since this is a double batch, I'll be throwing 2 in. But what I usually do for beef patches especially is, after adding I'll add the liver to the bowl of the food processor first, and then I'll add in the beef, the heart I mean, and then run it, because then what fat ends up kind of smearing to the work bowl will end up coming off when I start processing the vegetables and everything else, and it just makes cleanup way easier. And my dishwasher is empty and ready for me to load these in. So what will probably end up happening today is, after I'm done with the dog food and getting it into the containers and everything else, I'll probably kind of take a short break and then clean up, come back and start making the English Muffin Pizzas, because I'm not just gonna put, you know, pepperoni, cheese, and sauce on there. I'm gonna actually add some onions and mushrooms and garlic, just because that's the kind of stuff we like on a pizza. So I figure I might as well throw it on the little guys. Alright. Consequently, I'm also doing something that I wouldn't normally do. I use this cutting board for most things, like for vegetation and everything. I'm cutting meat and everything on here now, and I'm going to be cutting the fruit and vegetables for the dog food on here at the same time, because it's all going into the same thing. But I won't be using this cutting board later when I start working on the pizzas. Generally speaking, I use different boards for different things. Like, I have a meat board, I usually have like a vegetable board, I'm only doing it in this circumstance because this board I can run through my dishwasher and completely sanitize it, so it's a non-issue at that point. Just kind of as a little disclaimer and explanation. So I'm gonna turn this on. It's gonna get a little loud. I do apologize. I try to process everything to a really fine kind of paste, purely so that it's significantly easier on the dogs to consume. Because if the pieces are too big, their bodies just don't deal with it, and then you see chunks of vegetation when they go to do their business. USDA usually doesn't care since the food's for animals. Oh yeah, USDA doesn't normally care. Yeah, exactly. Since the food, yeah, if the food was for animals, however, this is a cutting board I use for people consumption food. And so yeah, if this were a restaurant or something like that, then yes, considerations would have to be made. However, if this was, say, if this was a facility specifically for the production of animal feed, then there wouldn't be an issue. And I would also probably have access to what is it called? I want to say it's green grade like meat, specifically stuff that the USDA hasn't come in and graded as, like, you know, you think prime, choice, select. Well, there's actually a few other grades below that, and those grades are usually reserved for things like animal feed. Green being one of them, from what I recall. So I'm just adding the sardines, the mackerel, and the clams, as well as their juice, to the work bowl. It'll loosen things up, and it'll process pretty nicely, and then we'll do it once again. That should be fine enough. Yeah, their coats are in fact really quite shiny, and the thing is even without that, they get fed a little bit of coconut oil with every meal anyways. Just like a teaspoon per bowl. So then that way, they also get kind of that benefit too. We just keep a big jug of it, basically. And then afterwards, it becomes perfect for things like waste oil. I don't know if I'll add the omegas right off the bat, because this chunk of heart was bigger than the last one. I don't want to completely overfill the work bowl. Yeah, and I'm wearing my gloves for this, just because at the end, I mean, my hands are going to be in the dog food and mixing it up. And I don't want to have to wash my hands, you know, a whole bunch of times during the process of making dog food, because my hands are already dry and cracked as it is. I don't need I don't need any more of that. Dogs always come to the kitchen when I'm making food because they're like, oh, that smells good. He's probably going to give us something. Which they're going to get a chance to lick the bowl at the very end. But the way that it usually ends up working is Jane will, so they'll both start off licking at the bowl, but then Jane, being Jane, will be bigger and will kind of like take over. And so what happens is I'll have like the paddle here. I'll get like some additional food and leave it on there, and then Vera will come over and lick it off. So when we're prepping meals for carnivorous birds, we usually wear gloves. All that ground stuff takes ages longer. Yes, it does. Exactly. And washing gloves is way easier than, you know, washing hands and things like that. Because these you can run through a dishwasher if you need to. So, I mean, I'm just gonna cut this up and throw it in there. Get all that lovely anthocyanin. Anthocyanins are part of what, like when we have like blueberries, red cabbage, kind of the deep reds and blues. Anthocyanins are some of the vitamins that are in there. And if you're like, hey, cyanin sounds like cyanide, well, you're right, because same ion's actually kind of present. Cyanide's just a carbon atom and a nitrogen atom, by the way. Has a negative charge. High school chemistry for the win. So on the Soldier of Giants, are you mostly doing the birds there at the zoo that you're at, or do you do other stuff? Just kind of curious. Alright. Oh, okay. Yeah, our zoo's kind of old school, and keepers stick to mammals, reptiles, amphibians, fish, or birds. We wish we had mammals or reptiles working as well, but our bosses are stuck in their ways. You know, what's interesting is I can kind of see both sides of that, argument. On the one hand, mixing it up and cross-training is a great thing, because it means that in the event that you got a keeper that is out or something like that, hey, no problem, you know, another keeper can just kind of step in and fulfill the role. And so that's always going to be a good thing. On the other side of it, I kind of see, especially like with some of the animals, that the animals develop a relationship with those keepers. And so if there's a change, then they could be like, whoa, what's going on here, kind of thing. So I guess I can kind of see both sides, but you do what you gotta do, I suppose. Other departments also get their diets pre-made from our nutrition center, but the birds department oh, you make... Interesting. That's odd that the nutrition center would make the diets for everybody except the birds. Is the bird diet so different from everybody else? I am really curious kind of what the carnivorous birds in your department eat. Okay. That's processed. In the meantime, in case you didn't see, I added the can of pumpkin to the bowl. I also have the vitamin mix here, which I'll go ahead and actually I'll wait because I don't like to just add it directly to the bowl. I like to add it to actually the work bowl, just so then that way it gets integrated and I'm not dealing with large patches of the vitamin mix. So, let's see. We make about 100 tiny diets with so many different things depending on the bird and the exhibit. Because we have many different species in the same exhibit, we have to balance what is available in. And I do mean where. Ground birds, for instance, don't necessarily have access to the same diet mix as the perching birds, but the perching birds have access to it also. Okay, yeah, so like the ground birds are looking at like little seeds and things like that, and what's kind of available there, whereas perching ones not only have the ground stuff, but other bugs and things that would be up in the air. That makes sense. That would be kind of interesting. I would love to like go visit the kind of the diet center / kitchen at a zoo just to kind of see what they do. I think it'd be really, really interesting. And I bet you most of it would be exactly like this, but on a larger scale. Possibly smaller scale, obviously, I would think, depending on the specific species of animal, what their diet consists of, because, you know, what a blue jay eats versus what a macaw eats is going to be different. Yeah. I'd love to show you our process. That would be awesome. I would love that. Because if I remember correctly, you're on the East Coast somewhere on the Soldier Giants. And honestly, like, sometime, if I find myself on the East Coast, it's been years since I've been back there, but if I'm back there, I would absolutely love to come check it out. I think it'd be a blast. And it would definitely be something that's kind of like, oh yeah, well, I've got experience doing this, so I completely understand, you know, the necessity to kind of change it up. And I mean, and then you completely understand too, like, part of the reason why, like, I process it as much as I do, because if it's too big, it, like, solid chunks just go through their system and they don't get the nutrition from it. That's the whole point of doing this from scratch, is for maximum nutritional value. So, okay. So I'll put that in there so it tears to 0. And I'll pull out a total of 30 grams. There we go. Now that can be done. I just keep that on the shelf that's just right here. Okay. Let's get that processing and start breaking down some of the other vegetation. Oh! I didn't realize you were in San Antonio. That's significantly easier for me to get to. We got friends in Austin, and I've been meaning to go visit them because I want to see them and I want to eat barbecue, but I definitely want to see them and eat barbecue. A lot of our foods are pre-cooked for us, so larger chunks of foods the birds can tear apart. Like, oh, okay. All these are not cooked. And more easy to tear. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. Mommy, why is that bird ripping apart that other animal? Well, that's nature, honey. So, Mrs Hueso actually has a really good story about kind of that thing. When we started dating, she was working at a nature center out in Riverside where she lived. And what was, I mean, what's funny is, so she had like kind of a park ranger kind of uniform, but it said interpreter on it, and their whole thing was, well, we speak for nature because nature can't speak for themselves. That was just kind of their thing. Oh yeah, no, I love me some proper barbecue, but also the Mexican food and the Tex-Mex, which are two different things, not the same. So she was working at this nature center, and a elementary school comes in for a tour, and they're kind of by a riverbed, and it was a fairly large area, but they would sometimes get deer and, you know, other things. They had ducks that would come on a wood ducks specifically on a yearly basis that would come and nest there. So they were out one day. She was given the tour. And there's this rabbit that comes out, and they're talking about the rabbit. And then a hawk comes by and it's like, ooh, lunch. Snags the rabbit and proceeds to do what a hawk does and eat it. Well, kids were like, what is happening? The teacher says to her, Can you stop that? Well, how can he do that, like, in front of the children? And it's just like, it's a bird in nature. This is what they do. That story always made me laugh when she told me. And that happened while, I think if I remember correctly, that happened while we were dating. Like, it was one day after work, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell you about this. That was also a really kind of a weird job, too. But, oh well. You know, I bring this up only because memories are coming up on Facebook of, like, you know, when lockdown started 2 years ago. Yeah, it is fantastic. Like, I would be like, okay, it's literally the circle of life. And, you know, it's like, hey, that's how it goes. Sometimes the bunny gets away, sometimes the bunny doesn't. But, anyway, so, like, these memories started coming up of, you know, here lockdown has started, and, like, oh, hey, here's when I built this compost bin, and here's when, you know, I'm doing all this stuff because, right before lockdown happened, I had gotten laid off from my pest control job. And so it was kind of, it was good in the fact that I got laid off right before it, and I was able to get the unemployment claim in before, like, everybody was getting laid off. So one of the things that occurred and kind of came up was my introduction to a YouTube channel called 3D Bot Maker. 3D Bot Maker, now at least, is one of the premier homes on YouTube for diecast racing. When I say diecast racing, I literally mean like Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars racing down a track. And he has grown to the point where he has, I think, 3 separate tracks, and we're not talking like, oh, it's orange plastic track. No, this is like model railroaders would be like, hey, that's a nice looking, you know, bit of scenery. And he's got timers, like, it's super well filmed now. That's not to say that it was bad like 2 years ago, but having watched it for the last couple of years, it's definitely improved. And so seeing kind of this memory pop up, and I think it was yesterday, season 3 of the DRC series, the Diecast Rally Championship, finished. Spectacular races. Like, honestly, like, it sounds kind of crazy, like, you know, like I'm watching Hot Wheels go down a track. No. Just look up 3D Bot Maker on YouTube. Look up the DRC. Specifically, like, this last series was all of the DRC has been phenomenal. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. This last, the finals for the DRC season 3 that just came out, amazing, absolutely amazing. And you'll just be like, dude, it will change your life. There's a reason why, like, he's one of the few YouTube channels that I, like, actively subscribe to. Because the guy puts a lot of work into it, and what's amazing is, like, there's this one series that he does called King of the Mountain, which people from all over the world modify and mail in Hot Wheels cars, and he races them. And it's amazing, yeah. Let's see. As far as our carnivorous birds, our vultures get the most variety. Rats of all sizes, guinea pigs, special meat mix we get in a big log called birds of prey diet. Okay. They get meatballs, occasional rabbit for Easter, big racks of ribs. Okay. Venison hides or shanks. Well, that makes sense. This is the kind of things that vultures would just get. Talking to family about what those vultures are eating and why. That is funny. It's like, that's kind of what they do. Sounds like a very lockdown find. Yeah, it really was a lockdown find. Him and, I think it's pronounced Yele, the marble runs that, oh my goodness. Like, the amount of work that goes into that has just skyrocketed. The Marble Olympic series that they do is always amazing. He does Marbula 1 races, so it's like a Formula 1 but marbles, which is also actually really, really well done. But yeah, I highly recommend checking them out. But like, honestly, like 3D Bot Maker is, I love that stuff. I never thought I would care about that kind of thing, and saying it out loud like just sounds kind of crazy, but just watch it. Just, like, you know, give it a watch, and I guarantee you you're gonna get sucked in. It's that good. So, Teanila Mandalore, thank you for the follow. I just saw that that message. My apologies. So, at any rate, I should probably get processing this food because I need to eat at some point tonight. Well, let's add a couple of eggs just to get some liquid in there so this will process better. That's why I usually hold off on the eggs, so then that way I can kind of add them as needed. Like, I know I'm going to need them for the carrots. That is such a fantastic color. That kind of blue-green, I love that. Sounds like Rainy Day Fun. I'll have to find all those. Oh yeah, totally. Yesterday was like sunny and absolutely perfect. I mean, it was a textbook, beautiful day. You know, kind where it's just like, oh, I should totally mow the lawn. My body, however, was just like, no, not so much. And now I've got rain for like the rest of the week. Actually, like the next week, I think, is what the forecast says. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to wait to mow the lawn again. But, oh well. Yeah. So, good times. But it's definitely one of those things that when I first found, and it was just one of those things. It was the YouTube algorithm that was just like, hey, you should look at this. I'm like, okay. And then it was like, Hot Wheels cars? Racing? Really? This is what you're having me watch? But I'm like, all right, I'll, you know, give it a shot. And I was just like, oh, now wait, that's interesting. Because there was, like, actual drama to it. Now, I will say that there are a bunch of other, like, die-cast racing channels that are out there. 3D Bot Maker is the one that I've stuck with personally. Just, it's the one that I enjoy the most. Consequently, whenever you watch any of the races and you hear two commentators, one's named 3D and the other one's named 2D, the name should be a giveaway, but 3D is the real person, 2D is just 3D with a voice change. Just as an FYI. But it is hilarious. The commentary is always great. Sound of the food process reminds me of making what we call pheasant salad for a bunch of tiny Atwater's prairie chickens. We basically make a salad soup for the chicks so they won't choke. So much time with the food process. Yeah. And honestly, at some point, I would love to upgrade to a Roku, like an actual, like, restaurant grade food processor. But that'll be at a future point because those are kind of spendy. Huzzah. Yeah, the YouTube algorithm is... It's crazy how well it knows you, and then will pull things just completely out of left field. And you'll be like, what on earth am I watching? But it just makes sense, sort of thing. It's like, oh, hey, we saw that you liked watching a video of, you know, Japanese street food. Here, check out this other video of, you know, Japanese K-pop, or Japanese pop and whatever. I don't know. That's probably a really bad example because that's not that big of a stretch, but... There we go. Now it's time for all the bananas. Everybody sing the Banana Splits theme. I am partial to the Dickies cover of the Banana Splits theme, personally. Banana Splits was a wacky kid show. I mean, granted, it was like the 70s. It was like full on. I think it was Sid and Marty Krofft, if I remember correctly. Or pretty dang close to it. But, yeah, that was a... Actually, no, it was might have been late 60s, early 70s. They were showing it on, was it Boomerang? Or something like that? They were showing it on, like, TV not all that long ago. And I remember watching it and thinking, whoa. But, you know, that's how it goes. So the banana here is the last of all the things, and then we will get with the mixing. But I'm going to definitely want to rinse all of this, so then that way it can go in the dishwasher and just run. Then we can start moving on to the people food. You know, Mrs. Hueso said she was going to be late today because she's trying to get some stuff done with work. So I think she might end up being home in about a half hour. I think it's the latest an hour, but I don't know specifically. But I am just going to be making food, and when we get there, we get there. Leave that off to the side because I want to give that a good cleaning. We got our big old batch of dog food that we'll mix up in just a moment. Just got the water running at the sink to get some hot water, so then that way things just rinse off a little bit easier. Okay. So let me get this over there and get a quick rinse on it, and then we will proceed with everything. I didn't use any soap on anything as of yet, only because I just wanted to get an initial rinse on it. But okay, it's time to mix. I have to admit, I'm going to have to do some research. I expect bananas have too much sugar to add them to the mix that already includes apple, but I'm not a nutritionist. For the amounts that are in here, at least from what I've read, it's not too much. At least for my dogs, I should say. Now we get to the real hand mixing, but I think that is about ready. Okay. So now we get to the fun mix. And then if I'm finding any, like, larger clumps of meat that are still, like I said, in clumps, then I'm just kind of grabbing it and squishing it in between my fingers to get it to integrate a little bit better.
What does fold in the cheese mean? He folds it in.
And I think that should do it. Ta-da! Okay. So I load up the food in these Cambro containers. Got try not to. So these kind of milky ones, these ones I'll actually throw into the freezer. The clear ones, this is what I'll usually start out with, because being a polycarbonate like this, it's not a big fan of freezing and thawing. So, and then yeah, it's just kind of load it up. And since this one's going in the fridge and there's not going to be any expansion with the freezing, I can actually load it up more than I will the other containers. Because that's science. Alright, fridge container, done. This might fill up part of another container. Not 100% certain, but we'll find out when we get there. It used to be that I kept a really detailed spreadsheet for the dog food, so I knew exactly like what vegetables I had used, and I had tracked it pretty consistently for a long time. And I even had kind of calculated in there based on the amounts of food that we were giving the animals. I mean, with that we still, you know, keep track of. Vera gets 250 grams a meal, Jane gets 300 grams a meal. But if it looks like one of them is, you know, getting a little fat, we'll cut back. When Vera was in heat not that long ago and she wasn't eating very much, she very clearly lost a lot of weight. So there was a while there when she started eating again that we actually upped her food intake, so then that way she put some weight back on. But we're pretty conscious of that. But anyways, with the recipes at least, I used to worry about like exact amounts previously, but nowadays I don't sweat it too much. I just kind of get a general ballpark of, okay, I know, like, if I'm using, that's the one nice thing about using, like, those beef chubs, for instance, is, okay, those are 5 pounds. Great. Like, I don't have to be like, oh, okay, I've only got, like, 4.9 whatever, so I have to adjust everything accordingly. It's like, okay, well, I've got the 5 pounds. That's I got enough for a whole nother container. Sweet. I know basically based off of a 5-pound chub, I need about a pound each of the organ meats, and then a pound each of the 2 vegetables and the 1 fruit that go into it. but I don't sweat it. You know, like I'll weigh it at the market, but then I don't like, oh, I can only use, you know, I don't worry too much about it because little up, little down, it's all right. So okay, it looks like I am gonna need a whole nother container. And I've got that one that the other batch was in, but that's now in the sink. There's nothing in the dishwasher. Okay. I think I'm going to have to deglove for a minute in order to get the other containers that I need. Rinse these off real quick. While I'm digging out those containers, I figure what I'll do is, for those that are new, for those that may be lurking and haven't been here before, I am Decay. This is Tactical Snacking with Decay, and I'll run my intro for you, so then that way I can go get the containers, and I'll be right back. Warning. The following video presentation contains scenes of extreme deliciousness. Failure to either eat first or bring a snack to consume during the presentation could result in wanting to lick the screen or in some way act the fool. Ain't nobody want that. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, boys and girls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for Tactical Snacking with DK.
There we go. Hopefully for those that hadn't seen it, you'd enjoyed it. Had fun making it. So I didn't have any of the larger containers, so I grabbed a couple of the half-size containers. I've got almost everything in there. I'm just kind of getting the rest of it and adding little bits of it to each of the containers. So then that way they all fit. And I've got dog food for, oh, that one's got plenty of it. Leave a little bit in there for Jane and Vera. Those will end up going in the freezer. Okay. See, the dogs are now ready for it. So I'm actually going to put this out in the dining room and let them, come on. So there we go. And there goes little puppy. Just don't be chewing up my toes, okay? Tastes good. Like that. Good. All right. I always end up keeping an eye on them just because last thing I want to have happen is somebody get a little too protective of the food. So haven't had any issues, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So it's just best practice to kind of keep an eye on them and take the bowl away if needs be. Just sharing nicely. Good. Good girl. Hail hydrate. Okay. You guys done? Jane's always hungry, I know. But it's not quite time for actual dinner time yet, guys. Okay. You did good, Jane. Thanks, buddy. All right. So now that dog food is all done, I'm going to take a really quick break. Yeah, it's always good to be aware. Even if you've never had any problems, they're still technically wild animals, and so I just to make sure that nothing happens, keep an eye on them. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get all this stuff in the freezer. I'm going to wipe down the counter. So hopefully I'll only be gone about 5 minutes or so. And then we'll get to work on people food. Sound like a plan? All right. See you guys in just a little bit.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
And we're back. Okay. Now, when it comes to English Muffin Pizzas, which is what I decided to go with, generally speaking, I get whatever English muffin kind of looks good to me. And honestly, for the last few years, the standard, Thomas's English muffins that you typically find, they haven't been my jam for whatever reason. So we got a local bakery here in the Portland metro area called France. And I've just been getting their English muffins and using these. So the first thing I want to do is I want to toast these guys up. That's why I preheated my oven. So then that way it was ready to go when I was ready to go. And they are almost completely split. There's just a little bit down the middle. But I've got my baking sheet with the non-stick foil, and I have a cooling rack on top of it because I'm going to toast these in the oven for probably, the time really, it depends. I'll set a timer for about 10 minutes or so. I like to toast these up until they're, I guess, mostly on the crispy side of things. So then that way when I go to add sauce and everything else, that they just don't crumble and fall apart. That was something that I started doing, I don't know how long ago, because I got sick of the pizza sauce or whatever making the English muffins all soggy. And so I'm thinking of not only myself, Mrs Hueso, in terms of pizzas, and I will destroy quite a few of these. So I've got what will end up being a grand total of 14 pizzas that we're making. there's a very high likelihood that I will end up destroying 8 plus, just because these are a favorite thing. And so right now on the tray they're not, like, it don't totally fit, but once they actually bake up, they'll shrink a little bit, and so it won't be that big of a deal, and we'll fit them on the tray. And then we'll get started on everything else. So let me get these in the oven first. And let's set this. Set that for 10 minutes. My oven has a convection feature, and so I have it on that convection setting, so then that way the air is circulating and it just toasts better. So for toppings, for the sauce, normally I bust out a can of ground tomatoes, which I have, but they're all like number 10 can size, and I don't need very much, and I really don't feel like dealing with the rest of a number 10 can of ground tomatoes. But so for today, and this is going to be a massive surprise for Mrs. Hueso when she gets home and sees this, but I'm just using some jarred sauce. Roasted garlic parmesan sounded good, so I figured I'll go ahead and do that. That'll be our sauce of choice. But then I'm going to chop up some onions and mushrooms and some garlic. I'm going to get all those sauteed up before constructing the pizza. I've got pepperoni already that I picked up from the deli counter, and then I'll be shredding some mozzarella and fontina cheese to go on top. Mozzarella and fontina I've personally have found to be a delightful combo when going on these kinds of pizzas. And once we're ready to go, we'll do the assembly, we'll put them all together, and then we'll pop them under the broiler. Won't take very long under the broiler, just until we start getting some of the nice little charred bits on the cheese, and then we'll be good to go, and pizzas will be ready. So that is our game plan. Those are already going. I'm going to start chopping some vegetation, so then that way we can get these going, because I'm not looking to caramelize them. I'm just looking to kind of soften them up a little bit, just because since, you know, I'm not working with an actual pizza oven that's running at, like, you know, 800 degrees or whatever. I have to pre-cook veg, and so yeah, I just pre-cook them a little bit, and I usually end up putting them right on top of kind of the sauce layer, but then I'll do the cheese, and sometimes I'll put the pepperoni underneath the cheese, sometimes I'll put the pepperoni on top of the cheese. It just kind of depends on, I don't know, how I'm feeling that particular day, but I'll usually chop things up relatively small for this, so then that way the mixture is really easily spoonable. These are just some mushrooms that I found in the vegetable drawer that was like, oh, I didn't realize we had these, so I'm like, hey, let's use them. So nothing terribly special. A couple of buttons, a couple of creminis, and then I got half an onion that will chop up and saute. And if I end up with like extra of this mixture, I'm okay with that, because then Mrs. Hueso can toss them into like a scrambled egg or something like that in the morning. She's, you know, getting ready for work. So, mushroom done. Onion. Just, like I said, I'm just aiming for small pieces, just so then that way they cook quicker. And Vera's running around like something's going on, but she's not barking, which tells me that if somebody's home, it's probably Mrs. Hueso, because if it were just somebody walking by, she'd bark, and she's not barking, but she's excited about something. That's why I think it's Mrs. Hueso's home. I like garlic. We like garlic. We like lots of garlic. So I'm going to add more garlic. Because like I said, we like garlic. I got these at this is a Vietnamese market, I think, the other day. Because for whatever reason, whenever I go to buy heads of garlic at the market, I don't know why, but they're all older. Never thought about the temperature of the pizza oven. Yeah, so interesting thing about that, and I can talk about this at length. Should you ever find yourself on Reddit, a subreddit that I highly recommend that is filled with people that are not only super passionate, but have done a ton of research into the very subject, is Our Pizza. Those guys they've gone crazy when it comes to making pizza. Like, it is impressive. And I have learned a lot from going in there and just reading. They've got some really good guides on sauces, like if you're aiming for like a traditional New York style pizza, like how to actually make it at home. But yeah, your normal pizza oven is running super, super hot. Your wood-fired pizza ovens that, you know, where pizzas are in and out in under 3 minutes, they're running at like 1100 degrees almost, depending. The coal-fired ovens in New Haven, Connecticut, where that kind of style is, they're up in that temperature range too. And so pizzas cook very, very quick, and the dough is formulated for rising and hardening that quickly. Now, your home oven, for most safety reasons, is temperature regulated to, at least here in the States, like 500 Fahrenheit, whatever, not sure what that is in Celsius, or whatever gas mark is. Gas mark a million or something, I guess, if you're in the UK. But they have figured out ways of bypassing the safety law on ovens and running it on a cleaning cycle, because in a cleaning cycle for ovens, it usually gets in about the 800 degree range, and for safety reasons that door remains locked. But by doing that, they're able to replicate more completely an actual like New York style pizza at home, which is pretty impressive. And they've got like extensive recipes for doughs and using dough same day, 24-hour rest, like sourdough, like week rest sourdough, whole wheat doughs. I mean, they're dedicated, and it is impressive. I highly, like I said, go spend a little bit of time if you're even mildly interested in what it takes to make authentic, like New York style pizza at home. Those guys are all over it like white on rice. It's pretty amazing. Actually, the R Ramen one is also really good. That's where I first encountered a dude by the name that goes by the name Ramen Lord, and he's on Instagram. And that guy is also insanely dedicated. I've had the opportunity to chat with him on Instagram a little bit about things, and it was really fun being able to talk to him, because the guy is really knowledgeable about things. And like, I've had questions about certain things where I'd be like, hey, I see that you're doing this, what's going on with it? And then like, I've actually suggested a couple of things, and been super cool. So yeah, our ramen's another really good one. There's a lot of craziness on Reddit, which, you know, go to at your own risk, but those two are totally safe for work and highly recommended. So, okay, time to get these sauteing. And nice, you know what? Get up a little. Oh. Let's check these. Okay. That is looking. Boop. So we are super close. Like, some of these are looking pretty ready. Thinking maybe another minute or so, and then these will be ready to go. And I'll take them out. Alright, yeah, we'll put 2 minutes on the clock. Get this on. I'll add some of this totally Greek olive oil that I have, although I should have picked up some totally Italian olive oil. Oh well. That's what I got. Right, totally Greek, everybody. Alright. Hit it with a little bit of salt. It looks like, I know, okay. I know that looked like a deluge of salt. I know it did, but it really wasn't. Because it's powdered, like the amount that I put on was maybe a quarter to half a teaspoon for that whole thing. It's okay. That's the kombu salt that I made that's got kind of the natural MSG and stuff in it, so it'll just help make things even more yummy. It's okay. I'm not going to add like any Italian herbs or anything like that, only because all of that stuff is already in the jarred sauce, so there's no need to add any more of it. Get my big cheese grater. Oh. Hi, Jane. Excuse me, buddy. Alright, that's what I want. Put that on the top. So yeah, you can see got some nice toastiness to it. It's definitely on the crunchy side, which is exactly what I wanted. We're going to leave these here for a couple of minutes to kind of cool down a little bit while this is sauteing up. I did the garlic in bigger pieces, so then that way I can do everything at the same time without the garlic getting too brown too quick. So the onions are going to end up releasing some moisture. The mushrooms are going to release some moisture. It's okay. It'll be just fine. you may have noticed when I was chopping the mushrooms that the mushrooms were wet, and that was because I washed them. It's kind of a long-held tradition that one doesn't wash mushrooms because they're like sponges and will just soak up water. It's actually not true. Yes, they are, you know, technically fungi, but they don't actually soak up the water. So it's okay to actually wash them. Like, I take a sponge that we have set aside specifically for doing vegetables, and I use them to like wash it, like kind of scrub them a little bit just to get any dirt and things like that off of it. But so it's okay, you can do it. Trust me, just believe me when I say that it's totally fine. I thought it was crazy when the head chef at the restaurant that I did my externship at, he told me to wash these expensive matsutake mushrooms, and he's like, it's okay, you can totally do it. I'm like, what? And he's like, no, it's just fine, they're not going to soak up any water, which sure enough they didn't. This is low moisture mozzarella that I'm grating right now, and then I'll do that block of fontina. Let's check that vegetation real quick. Get a bit of color on there. Okay. Alright. That is looking done. So let me grab trivets. Put one there for that. One there for that. Let's double check. Yep, pan is still hot. Okay. So I've got my tray of English muffins. We got the cutting board here with cheese. I can move this. We'll just move that for the time being so I can finish doing what I got to do here. And there for the time being. We can finish grating the cheese. The only thing I'm going to need is a spoon. Nicely. Okay. Just need to finish grating the cheese. I will probably not use all of the cheese, but I like to have enough just in case. And I can easily use the cheese the next day on something else. That is, of course, unless the dogs get it. The dogs love cheese. Most of the time, when I go to the drawer that has like all the cheese graters in it, they know that sound. They know what's happening. And so at that point, they usually just come a-running because they think, hey, cheese, that's for us, right? It's kind of funny how that is. Oh, the cheese! Yeah, the muffins, yeah, they're toasted up nice. They're actually... You can hear kind of how crunchy they are. But they're not going to be that crunchy after they get sauced up and then go underneath the broiler. So, knowing what I do know about fungi, I cannot imagine not washing them. Then again, I don't go out of my way to eat fungi. Yeah, mushrooms for me I've not always been a fan, but once I became a fan, I became a fan. Yeah, I don't understand how people can be like, oh, just use a brush and brush off the dirt. No, you're gonna want to wash them, especially if they're wild mushrooms. Especially if they're wild mushrooms. Because there's a fair amount of mushroom foraging that takes place up here. Chanterelle season, when it hits, oh man. People have spots that secret spots that they return to and harvest all kinds of them because they just grow crazy up here. But we do also get wild matsutakis that grow here. We also get, interestingly enough, truffles grow up here, which is really kind of interesting. And I mean, most of the time when you hear about truffles, you hear about the black or the white ones that famously grow in either Italy, like the Piedmont region of Italy, or in France, for instance. And they're very expensive, they're very pungent, and I mean, it's literally like the truffle mafia is kind of, you have a guide that you go through. How they get into the country, you don't ask. And you pay for them basically by the gram. That's just kind of how expensive they are. But there are truffles that grow here in kind of the Oregon and Washington area. They're not the same quality as the ones that you find in Italy and France, only because the forests there are so much older. But they're not bad. There's a truffle festival that happens, I think it's down in Newburgh, Oregon, which is kind of in the heart of the Willamette Valley, which, if you know anything about wine, the Willamette Valley in Oregon is world famous for their Pinot Noirs. So yeah, Cinco de Mayo muffin pizzas, yeah, basically. Yeah. So there's Truffle Festival, like I said, it's in Newburgh, if I remember correctly. It's Newburgh or Dundee, they're right next door to each other. That's warm. That is out of the way. Okay. We got our cheese. We got our pepperoni. We got our sauce. We got our onion and garlic mushroom mix. We are ready for assembly. So I don't go for a super thick layer of sauce. I try to keep it somewhat minimal, just because for such a small thing, I don't want it gushing all over me. Because when it comes out, it's usually rocket hot. Oh, I think Mrs. Hueso's home. At least I thought so. I could be wrong. She may also be on the phone. A lot of times when we make these Mrs. Huesos here, and we do this together, so it's like I'll, do the sauce, then she'll hit it with, that vegetation. Is that you? She's alive! Mrs. Hueso's home, everybody. Bit of a day.
It's Monday.
Uh-huh.
And my boss, do you think you can get them done tomorrow? Like, I'm sorry, what? I don't know if I can get them done. Just kidding. I might be able to get them done tomorrow.
Everybody, Mrs. Hueso, Mrs. Hueso,
Hi, everybody.
everybody.
We see on Soldiers of Giants, and
Yep. Avocado green KitchenAid.
Yeah. I'd assume lumpy pickles around.
You know what? I haven't seen him in chat, but he could just be lurking.
He's a lurker.
And that's okay. Hello to the lurkers. It's okay to keep lurking. Feel free to just hang out. Silently judge me, decide whether or not you want to, you know, follow or not. It's okay. Judged. But after making dog food, I was just like, I want something simple. And so I was just like, English Muffin Pizzas sound good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, up here in the Pacific Northwest, it's not as blatant as being in Southern California with Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've seen a single sign. If we went to a Mexican restaurant or something, we'd see something, but...
Yeah. But I don't need a holiday as an excuse to eat Mexican food. It's a day ending in Y is a reason enough for me to eat Mexican. Just saying. Glad to be chilling now. Oh, so by the way...
by the way?
Yes, you by the way, Mrs. Hueso.
Mrs. Hueso.
So earlier, when I was making dog food, so I knew that On the Soldier of Giants works as a zookeeper.
Well,
in San Antonio.
And specializes in birds, if I remember correctly, right?
Very good, yes.
See, I listen.
And so making the dog food is kind of up his alley because he was saying that in their department,
species appropriate diet.
Well, not only that, but the diet center there at the zoo makes food for all of the different areas except for birds.
Oh, how does that?
And yeah, exactly. That was what I said.
Wait, what?
So he, as well as, you know, other keepers, are involved in making the diets of birds.
Oh, okay.
And so when we go to Texas, we make our way over to San Antonio, he is gonna show us what's up.
Oh, is it the San Antonio Zoo?
I think so.
Nice. San Antonio's not that far from Austin.
It's true.
And I can go to Austin anytime.
I think they'll allow me to come along, too.
There was a little boy I used to watch. He's not so little anymore. He's now 5?
Pepperoni on top or underneath the cheese?
You always said underneath because then it slides off.
Well, we can put it on top if you like.
Sure.
Okay.
Anyways, he's now 5, but they live in Texas. Although I'm trying to talk him, there's a house across the street for sale. I'm trying to talk him into buying it. You need to come back because the weather's better. Huh. Yeah, that'd be great on the Soldiers of the Giant. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see the zoo's food bill.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The animal bill.
So earlier I told when I was breaking stuff down, specifically beef heart.
I'm curious what the birds eat on Soldiers of Giants. What do you put in your bird food mix?
This is what I was saying, but he was saying that like the ground birds are different than the perch birds, which are different from the vultures, which are different from, and so. But I told him about the time that you had the school group, and there was a rabbit that popped out, and then a hawk came down and was like, "Ooh, lunch," and the teacher was all freaking out.
Yeah, she wanted me to change nature,
which was really funny.
It was it wasn't a hawk. It was it was a type of hawk. A Cooper's hawk, maybe. It was one of the smaller hawks. Anywho, it came in and grabbed one of the little LBJs, little brown birds. LBJ. But the little tiny brown birds.
Lady Bird Johnson?
Yeah, they're so hard to tell, those little birds. And between the difference between the different species. But
you know, Lady Bird Johnson has a chili recipe.
Yes, she does. Anyways, the hawk came in and just took the bird out. Feathers went everywhere. And you need to not let them do that.
I thought it was a rabbit. But it was just another small bird.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a Cooper's hawk. But
it was a rabbit. We're gonna say that it was a rabbit from now on.
Okay.
Just because it's funnier.
I have seen, and that might have been that same time, which is why it was confusing. It was a red-tailed hawk it was a giant pole, and it had the rabbit sprawled out, and it was just going to town at the top of this pole. And that might have been the same time.
Isn't nature beautiful?
Yeah, it's nature. What'd you expect? Like, hello, it's the law of the jungle.
Yeah.
We're not sugarcoating things here.
Oh yeah.
And I can't turn nature off.
That's not how that works.
Yeah. The animals need to eat too.
Like yeah, we can't just order them a pizza.
Yeah, there was I don't know if it's still on. There was the Georgia Aquarium has their first season. They spent a whole episode on the food, and it was like 28,000 pounds of restaurant quality seafood that's delivered that they use every week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd love to see the bill.
Mm. See, that's what you should do is like see if you can...
The lady was upset because the lions and tigers ate meat, not kibble. Like, yeah. And then she's feeding her dogs this crap kibble, which is killing them or something, you know? It's just like, no, don't give your dogs... There are some kibbles out there that are good, and kibbles for an animal is better than starving them, but... we go the extra. No judgment if you feed kibble.
That's
just make sure you're feeding a decent quality kibble that's got nutrients in it. Because they're not all made the same.
Nope.
I know I shouldn't have soda with dinner tonight because I want to try and go to bed early. But if I have soda...
we don't have it. So...
Oh, there you go.
That's kind of a non-issue.
Oh, yeah, that's very good.
I'm sure her cats are on a vegan diet. Oh, I feel sorry for those cats.
What,
Animals should not be on a vegan diet.
What do you feed your birds, then, on the Soldiers of Giants?
Okay. These are going underneath the broiler now. If you would hit the... You can hit the talk button on there.
Talk. Woo! Yeah, what do they eat? I would assume... little small mammals, maybe? Birds in the wild eat. That depends on the bird.
So we got pepperoni and cheese and sauce, which I know tend to be a favorite combo of yours.
You're using Prego?
What'd I tell y'all?
I'm sorry, what?
What'd I tell y'all?
Wow. He is tired.
I told you.
Wow. This does not show up in our home very often. He almost always uses crushed tomatoes, which is delicious. Ground, crushed, but not the same. Okay, so how many species of birds do you work with? Do you have a preference? Do you have a one that you like?
What's that giant one that's like a prehistoric bird? I know they got them in Japan. It's like this giant spoonbill, I think it is, where it's like it stands like 5 feet tall and it's got this massive clacking beak. It's amazing. I've seen videos of it on YouTube.
One of the egrets, maybe?
YouTube shows us some funny stuff. I talked about 3D Bot Maker.
Nice.
Yeah, there's marble runs.
Okay, that makes sense. It's sort of like a parrot with meat added of food.
Okay, the text box is still showing up. I need to move it and put a background behind it so it's a little bit easier to read.
Okay. Shoe-billed storks. It was that bird.
Oh, it's a shoe-billed stork. Okay.
Birds are pretty cool. Why do you like birds over other animals? Oh, I always wanted to be a zookeeper. I thought that'd be fun. And it's a lot of work. And you're not paid a ton of money. Like teaching. I feel like you should be paid more. And just teachers, they should be paid more.
Sorry. Just as a point of reference, they were under the broiler for 2 minutes. I rotated the pan, put it back in for another 2 minutes. They don't do well in San Antonio.
It's just too warm, I take it.
Gotcha. Just the wrong climate for them. Well, of course.
I bet they do well up here. Because our climate is very similar to that of Japan.
Well, parts. Not all parts of Japan.
True.
Yeah, because the weather in Okinawa is very different than the weather in Hokkaido.
True.
Because Okinawa, I mean, it's so far off the coast of Japan, it was its own independent country for a long time. That's why their language is so different.
Hoof stock but fell in love with ducks. You know what? I have to say ducks are really cool. Our neighbor behind us has Muscovy ducks. Very quiet, but they'll follow me around because they know I get them. Is it what, bloodworms?
Something like that.
So they follow me around because they're like, "Ooh, that lady has bloodworms."
That actually brings up a really funny story. So yesterday we were out back again. Beautiful day yesterday. There were 4 male mallards that kind of circled overhead, and you're like, "Huh, that's interesting," because we don't really see ducks flying overhead very much.
Well, especially mallards.
Especially mallards, and male mallards at that. And I joked, I'm like, I bet you they were scoping out the ladies down there.
That's it. He's like, yeah, the late, because there's 4 females, Muscovies behind us, and they're named after cheese. So it's cheddar, Parmesan, Crescenda, and one other one. No,
I don't remember what it is.
cheddar, Parm. Cheddar's black. He's really cool. Parm's the white duck. Blue. The blue duck's named Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could have been wood ducks that flew over, but David's like, yeah, they're totally checking out the ladies.
Okay.
And he was talking about the species being able to mix, and I was like, I don't think it works like that. I mean, technically maybe.
Why couldn't there be a duck hybrid?
Yeah, on the subject of giants, is that? I mean, I can't imagine wild ducks would mate with Muscovies, but maybe. I mean, Muscovies are wild somewhere. I also love the cranes. The egrets they're amazing to watch. When I worked at that nature center, we could see some really cool things with the egrets. And the herons, the great blue herons, that's fun. I saw a great blue heron actually catch a gopher once, which was pretty cool. Okay, so the boy ducks were checking out the girl ducks.
Ducks mate with all the ducks. Okay. So now this means that I'm going to have to start, Googling duck hybrids just to kind of see, just out of curiosity what ends up happening. But not that the ducks would end up turning into ducklings just because he eats. Mallards are notorious for mating with everything.
Well, that's really funny.
Good to know. So we have pizzas. Huzzah.
I'm gonna let them cool down a little bit.
But I'm hungry. So. Oh, hang on. Beauty shot. No. Yes. Down. Perfect.
Yeah, these are pretty tasty. Toasting the English muffin makes a big difference.
So now that I got my beauty shot for the, that I can edit into the intro now.
And 1 pizza bread is only 50 calories. So, you know.
If that matters.
Some ladies don't have to worry about all the calories. Intel mallard fibers, and I've seen these ones. Interesting.
Huh. Goose mallard hybrid.
Is that like Canadian geese mallard hybrids? Because we have a ton of Canadian geese.
They suck.
I'm sure you have them down there too. This lady, so we moved from California. That's where they go in the winter. We get up here and this lady's like, have you seen a Canadian goose? Yes. Yes. I worked in a nature preserve. Yes.
They know they're untouchable. That's why they're jerks.
That's really
funny.
That was.
I'm happy.
I'm happy you're happy.
This is only round 1. Of many.
Like I said, the cheese, I mean, cheese is a bit of calories.
Well, it's mozzarella and fontina.
Yeah, I like to say it's what, half an ounce per pizza?
Ish.
It's about 100 calories, 2 plus the pepperoni.
Yeah, so you're fine. There's enough for you to have 6.
You don't get Canadian geese, really. Texas is kind of big. Much as I thought, probably because they go all the way down to Southern California. I don't know how far. I don't think they go to the border. So.
People dump their unwanted domestic ducks and geese apart. Yeah.
We have that, and I'm sure you guys have that everywhere with rabbits. Oh my gosh, people dump rabbits all the time. There's a whole neighborhood that's just completely taken over of domestic rabbits.
Yeah, there's a neighborhood here in town where some people were moving. They had some rabbits, and they just let them go. They kept interbreeding, and now there's these wild, like, lop-eared rabbits all over this neighborhood like crazy. They're actually a pest problem now.
And they're destroying the ecosystem.
Yeah, the city will actually come out and trap them because the problem is so crazy.
And then they bring them to us, where we neuter them and re-release. Or spay. That would be cool to see.
A blue mort snow.
Interesting. It's still pretty high.
Yeah.
Just like you. I know.
So,
Yep.
the park in question on the Soldier of Giants, it's an old park that's right next door to the county fairgrounds that has a very large stable and horse area at the back. And this one's kind of like off the beaten path, but it also borders on a fairly large neighborhood. The park is, you know, famous in the city and has been forever and a day. So it's not uncommon for ducks and geese to get dropped off there. And they've been there forever and a day. So
I did it.
Good job. We have such a feral cat problem that dumped rabbits don't last long.
Thankfully, the cat problem here isn't that bad. People have been really good about it. And we have, with our shelter, a spay and release program. Or neuter, you fix and release. That includes the wild ones.
Yeah, we don't really have a rabbit problem because we got Vera.
Yeah.
So.
But even in the county, and what's really interesting is because of COVID in 2020, they stopped picking up a ton of animals, and the cats got out of control in 2021.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how kitten season's just started, and we're curious to see how it goes for the summer, because last year was just off the chains. I mean, kitten season was way longer than it should have been.
Yeah.
But there was nobody catching and spaying and releasing cats.
Well, the feral cats at Disneyland are there by design.
Yeah.
They are the built-in pest control for Disneyland.
Yeah.
Which
I think they have 200
something
at
like
Disney,
that.
but they're all microchipped. I mean, they're not pet cats, but
Yeah.
they're microchipped, and they have a vet over them.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, there's also a Homeland Security office at Disneyland. There's at least one Homeland Security officer there. I believe there's also a CIA officer that's on call there, as well as a couple of FBI that are stationed at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Just as an interesting...
Well, it's a training ground.
Yeah.
It's actually a training ground for some of that stuff.
Yeah, some of those lettered organizations go and train for, like, counterterrorism type stuff all the time. It's really kind of surprising the amount of security that Disneyland has that most people don't even realize. Like,
it's one of the safest places on the planet.
Hey, Cryptic Caramel, welcome, welcome. Oh, I see the snack bot finally decided to start working. But, yeah. Gentleman that we knew worked for their business development arm, and he knew, like, all the fun stuff when it came to Disneyland. And he was saying that the way that the security system is set up there, you are basically profiled the moment you cross onto the property. There are cameras on you.
While still in your car.
While still in your car. You're profiled. I would not, he didn't overtly say this, but I would not be surprised if faces are going through facial, like national facial recognition databases through, like I said, Homeland Security, CIA, NSA, etc. To try to preemptively identify any potential terror threats, because obviously Disneyland being the single biggest soft target in the country. And because it is the single biggest soft target in the country, it's also probably the most protected spot in the country.
So there you go.
Yeah, most issues don't even make it through the front gate.
There's undercover people walking
everywhere.
all the time.
Yeah, there's always undercover people in the crowds. There's undercover folk behind the scenes. Most of the cast members have no idea who they are because they rotate through them so frequently. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase. When it comes to terrorism, you have things like hard targets, which are structures, things like, say, the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, it's something that in the U.S. is very nationally recognized, and if you destroy it, or like the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers in, you know,
9/11.
On 9/11. A soft target is one where you're not looking to necessarily take out a structure or some kind of symbol. You're trying to take out people. Okay. So soft targets, places like Disneyland, where there's large groups of the public. Grand Central Station in New York is another excellent example because of how many millions of people pass through there on a daily basis. Football games, you know, it's sports events, basically. Yeah. Anything where there's large gatherings of people are considered soft targets. But Disneyland is known the world over.
That's right.
It is, in terms of soft targets, Disneyland or Disney World, I should say. But Disney World's a much larger park. Disneyland is much more compact, and but like mall shooters and concert shooters and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So like the mall or concerts, they're after soft targets. They're not looking to destroy a government building. They're not looking to take out like a freeway overpass that would cripple traffic. The storyline in I don't know if you watched The Rookie on ABC. They just did a 2-episode arc with Niecy Nash, formerly of Reno 911, because she's getting her own spin-off that's effectively The Rookie, but at the FBI.
Or at least I think that's the hope.
No, that's the plan, is that it's becoming a spin-off, which is why they did it. But the whole idea behind those 2 episodes was this one guy who was trained by the CIA in order to figure out how to disrupt a city without firing a bullet, effectively. And so one of the things that he went to do is set off these truck bombs at key interchanges throughout Los Angeles.
Which would shut the city down. Here it'd be taking out the bridges.
Yeah, here it'd be taking out the bridges between Portland and Washington.
I think any of the bridges in Portland.
Any of the bridges in Portland.
But yeah, the ones between here and Portland.
Between Washington and Portland, and any of the bridges in Portland.
Yeah. And
really, because there's so many of them.
Portland up.
It would absolutely cripple things if they did that. Oh, you're still on season 1? Oh, sorry to hear that. Anyways, yeah, you should totally watch it. If for no other reason, it's really interesting from the perspective of understanding how they think. And so it's like, oh, okay, I can kind of see how that works. Now, bear in mind, this is a TV show, not real cops. Not a doctor.
That's our joke, because I've extensive first aid experience and training, and we're watching a show. I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You can't do it like that.
The one we say that most often with is when we're watching 911, which, by the way, we love 911 and 911 Lone Star, not because they're great dramas, but because they decided to jump the shark and just embrace it for all that it's worth.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Just the crazy things that happen. The fact that LA has literally one fire department and one cop, and they find themselves in as far away as like Long Beach and then like up in Oxnard.
Yeah, Southern California. If you know anything,
square miles. Yeah, if you know anything about Southern California, like just cities and the way that it's set up, yeah, not so much. Like that fire station is like covering maybe 3 or 4 square miles at most.
It would take an hour and a half to get there, and they're like, "Oh, we're there in 5 minutes." But
911. I thought Rookie was done better than a lot of others.
It's done great.
It is done pretty well. I mean, you got to take them all with kind of a grain of salt. But so the shows that I'm talking about is 911 and 911 Lone Star. They're on Fox.
911's been on 5-6 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Lone Star's 2.5, 3.
Yeah, Lone Star's been on like 2 or 3 years with Rob Lowe. Which actually I kind of had like this whole diatribe that I was going to go into based off of the last episode that we watched, because what's his face's kid that he just found out that he had got arrested for vandalism, and he was supposedly doing graffiti, and so I had this whole diatribe about graffiti and how he wasn't really doing graffiti.
He was tagging.
He was tagging, and how what he ended up doing was tagging a billboard in morning rush hour traffic, which I was just like, oh man, that is no.
Well,
no.
Anyways, the show is just like, no. You can't have rebar thrown through your head and survive fine.
Yes, one of the characters on 911 was in a car accident, and a piece of rebar went square through his forehead. Yeah. Anyway, he's back to work, and everything's fine.
Yeah, and everything's fine.
It's amazing. But don't get me wrong, we love the character. He's an awesome character, and I'm really sad about his car because he had a really sweet STI. But yeah, rebar through the head, and he's back at work.
Yeah, you look at it with a comedic, like, first episode out of the gate.
Don't look at it as a serious drama. Just look at it as like, you know what? I'm gonna get a bowl of popcorn. I'm just gonna sit back and relax. This is gonna be dramatically hilarious.
This the first episode, the guy's in a bouncy castle. This adult goes in this bouncy castle, I think, to get his kid out. Anyways, the wind picks up and the bouncy castle goes rolling down the hill, which was hilarious.
So
I know I probably shouldn't laugh because people got hurt and all, but
it was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Still, I think the best moment from Lone Star was the storm and the woman who was driving. This is the best. So they get like this tornado warning, and there's this woman driving in the car, and she's got her rosary hanging from the rear view mirror. And it's like it's an important point, right? I was at the show with the tarantula babysitter that showed up in some animal groups.
Yes.
Is it?
Remember, oh, that was the Rookie, maybe?
Was that the Rookie?
I don't know. I'm thinking. But yes, it's one of those shows because
it's one of them. Mind games.
That kid went and watched the dude took care of the tarantulas, and then he got tarantulas spun. In a giant web, and they saved him. I'm like, no.
That was 911. No. Was it?
Or was it the Rookie?
No, I think it was 911. Yeah, he was taking care of the guy's like favorite spiders, and there was one that got out and it like spun him up. Yeah, I think it was 911. Anyways, 911 Lone Star, tornado warning. It's like in the middle of the night or whatever, and there's this woman driving along. Like I said, she's got this rosary hanging from the rearview mirror. It's an important detail because she's driving along. The radio's like, okay, tornado warning, stay inside your home or whatever. And she's kind of driving along, and the wind starts picking up, and at that point in time, I made the joke, Jesus, take the wheel! And her car got picked up and she got flung. And I'm like, no, not like that! It was
Not that wheel.
Not that wheel. Oh, it was good times. Anyways, it made us laugh. So. Yep. Anyways, I think it's time to eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these shows are comedic.
They are comedic,
and
we enjoy them. They're a lot of fun.
What started the conversation though is I was like yelling at the TV, like, "No, it doesn't work like that." And David's like, "Not a doctor, not a real show,
not a real doctor,
not a real cop,
not a real firefighter." Just you got to take it with you know, like a big old salt lick. Just go in there with full of popcorn. It's like it's gonna be a fun time. Don't take it too serious. Everything will be fine. So that's why we watch them, because they're just fun. Anywho's, all right, folks. I'm gonna peace out and go eat. I don't know if this will let me do it. In fact, actually, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna try and trigger it from a different computer, so then that way this doesn't freak out too much. So if you'll stick around and entertain for just a moment, I'm gonna run to my computer.
Does anyone have any questions on the food? Not that I can answer them for you. Just kidding. These are just generic English muffins. We usually buy France. It's a local brand. They're toasted, a heavy toast, and then in this case, David L. Hueso use Prego. Use whatever pizza sauce you like. And then he sauteed up onions and mushrooms. And then put that on cheese in the oven. I think they go in the oven to toast the bread 7 minutes, and then later again another 7 minutes, something like that. Oh yay, another person that I don't know. Hi, Sotos. Hello, Mom and Dad. I didn't know I had children. Wait, is that you, Dong-Young? Is that our Asian baby? That is our child. I don't know. The only kid I could think of. Not that he's a child, he's an adult. Yeah. I love how it's a white kid as your little logo. But I'll have to stalk you. Anyways, sadly I won't be around on Saturday. Our shelter's having a big fundraiser, so I won't be here. Unless he does it later in the evening. But we need to get back to me attempting to cook. Me attempting to cook new things. I'm very good at the old things. Any questions or anything? No. Another pizza shot? We can make that. Here, let's just pick up the whole tray. Okay, wait. Food porn? Yes. This foil is a non-stick grill foil. It's the only foil we use. It's amazing. Because non-stick.
Molly is streaming, so we'll go right now.
Yeah, they're pretty tasty. It's a nice home quick dinner.
Yeah, it's super easy. I mean, you saw how quickly they came together. And I mean, I don't make them all the time, but it's, you know, they're quick, they're easy, they hit the spot. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna go raid Mally. I'm gonna go start that raid. So I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody, and
Thank
Sotos,
you.
welcome. If I don't know if that is Dong-Young.
I don't know.
If it is, that would be kind of amazing. So
thanks on the Soldiers of Giants. I'm almost 100. I'm set like $75 away from my goal. Yeah. So close.
Very good.
So close.
All right. Well, have a good one, folks. I will see y'all Saturday. I have an idea for what I'm going to make, but I need to do a little bit of research, and then We'll
I
kind
was
of
just
see
saying
what
I have a
happens with that.
fundraiser, so I won't be here until later.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because I think what I want to make is going to take a little bit of time. No spoilers yet, because...
Spoiler!
Anyways.
Can you tell us what genre it is?
Dick from Greece. Oh, hey, welcome, Sotos. I'm in League game. Oh, okay. Oh, they're like a League of Legends game. So,
Okay.
well, welcome, Sotos. Anywho's, I'm out. Take care, folks. Have a good night, and I will see all y'all online. See ya.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?